In this critical and creative thinking, we just talked about those blocks that the mental blocks that block creativity and problem solving, and we have mentioned quite a number. And we went back to prejudice, functional fixation, run and helplessness, psychological blocks, all that. We said this can put us into trouble because when you are mentally blocked, you can't move because you think I'll fail. You think that you can't make it. But again, let us celebrate that there are positive attitudes for creativity because there is curiosity. When you are curious, you can positively move, positively go far. There is also challenge. Curious people like to identify and challenge assumptions behind ideas, proposals, problems, beliefs, and statements. They like to challenge in order to think deeper. There is also constructive discontent. Constructive discontent is another positive attitude for creativity. Because this is not a winning or gripping kind of discontent, but the ability to see a need for improvement and to propose a method of making that very improvement. There is also another positive thing is a belief that most problems can be solved. Such a belief is very good for creativity. Number 5, the ability to suspend judgment and criticism. It is not a question of making quick decisions, quick judgments, quick fix solutions. That is not the way to survive and make it through. In any case, that may be the hindrance, the real problem to our progress when you want to make quick decisions and get away with it. There is also seeing the good in the bad. Yes, converting challenges into opportunity. That is great. The other one is problems lead to improvement. We have to see problems as leading to improvement. In other words, you may fail today, but tomorrow you will not fail. You may fail today, tomorrow you will not fail. Number 8, a problem can also be a solution. Such attitude is good for your creativity, that a problem can also be a solution. The last point is problems are interesting and emotionally acceptable. That is very, very good attitude for creative thinkers. The other one is miscellaneous good attitudes. Of course, we have already mentioned them, such as perseverance, flexible imagination. Your imagination should be flexible. There is also a belief that mistakes are welcome, all that. And you can also see the characteristics of a creative person. A creative person has curiosity, seeks problems, enjoys challenge, is optimistic, able to suspend judgment, comfortable with imagination, sees problems as opportunities, sees problems as interesting, sees problems as emotionally acceptable, sees challenges and challenges as assumptions. A creative person doesn't give up easily. He perseveres and works very, very hard. Now, I don't want to get to problem solving, which we also considered, and we gave some good problem solving skills there. But I started by telling you there are 3 to 4 points. Recognize the problem. Of course, there are details there. Number 2, analyze and investigate. Number 3, brainstorm solution. Number 4, explore options. The last one, then make a decision. That is the way to go. That is the way to be creative thinker. Now, I have considered one African scholar who was very critical in creative thinking, very important person in creative thinking. I've mentioned them. This Professor Kwasi Wirendu of Ghana, who talks about the importance of philosophy. The beauty in this guy, he comes in both creative and critical, because he reminds us philosophy has a function. You keep saying philosophy is nothing but splitting hairs, just debating things, splitting hairs. You are just busy making your hair. It's a luxury, especially in the third world. We don't need it. It is too theoretical. We need to think of chemistry, agriculture. Now, Wirendu comes and tells us and argues that the right orientation for pursuing philosophy in Africa is of the most practical importance. For an action by any individual or group of individuals needs to be guided by ideas, and philosophy attempts to elucidate the most fundamental of such ideas. Like Bertrand Russell, he has Kwasi Wirendu has pointed out in his book Problems of Philosophy that the criticism that philosophy is not practical arises from the wrong conception of the kind of goods which philosophy strives to achieve. What we wrongly call practical man or practical woman, as Bertrand Russell observes, is one who recognizes only material needs, who realizes that humanity must have food for the body, but is oblivious of the necessity of providing food for the mind. So, Kwesi Wirendu and Bertrand Russell, these philosophers, bring in the food for the mind, that if you want to build a house, you first of all think through, you theorize, you philosophize, you think through and analyze, doubt, elucidate, correlate, compare, and then you know the kind of house that you want to build. Or even a car, you may need to think through what model, what make. That may require philosophizing, if not simply theorizing the matter first, in order to think through. So you cannot say philosophy is nothing but in the third world, but splitting hairs, and therefore a luxury, especially in the third world. Not at all. It is not splitting hairs. It is as practical as chemistry when you go to the laboratory. It is so good. In other words, it is philosophy has everything to do with creativity. So in view of this, philosophy by its very nature nurtures the mind and has a critical function, deliberately resisting the tendency to take things for granted. It questions assumptions. It questions beliefs and habits, breaking with the traditional way of thinking and making us better priests as thinking beings for human well-being. All that. So that is Kwasi Wirendu for you. A lot is still there. You can still pursue it further. We also looked at the characteristics associated with a creative and innovative thinker. We looked at all these things there. You can see on your screen: idea generation, curiosity, imagination, reasoning by metaphor and analogy, elaboration, complexity, synthesis and combination, abstraction and simplification, tolerance and for ambiguity, divergent thinking, fluency, flexibility, concentration, persistence, entrepreneurship, intrinsic motivation, risk-taking, projection, stroke empathy, okay, originality, storytelling, all these. There is also barriers of creative thinking. Some of them are already considered as we go on. So it's like we are widening it up. The one is unconstructive attitude. That is the tendency to center only the negative aspect of a situation acts as a barrier for the creative thinking skills. Okay? Statements like it is too difficult or too expensive. We cannot do it because we don't have enough resources or skills. These ones are barriers. The other one is executive anxiety. When a person is overstressed or burdened with workload, it tends to smother his ability to think creatively. Stress now targets the creative mental process and reduces them to the minimum. Okay? In this case, one must try to understand the organization of everyday work, which is important, but that shouldn't stop us from trying new ideas and approaches. That is what we call executive anxiety, which has something to do with stress now. The other, number 3, is afraid of failure. When you fear failure, you can't be creative. Number 4 is strictly following rules. You don't want to break anything. You want to be what we may call in leadership management transactionalist. A transactional leader works very hard to maintain the status quo or the situation as it is, but a transformative leader empowers everyone to do something to promote the society, the organization, and eventually all of us become relevant. The other one is too judgmental. When you are too judgmental, judging others is dressed poorly. Even getting a spouse as a young man, when you are too strict, you may not get even a spouse, a young person. When you are too judgmental, overindulgence and over-reliance on logic does not allow our creative ideas to bloom and flourish. Also, being too judgmental excludes imagination. However, creative thinking does not mean the absence of reason. It simply shows us a different, humorous, and more mind-boggling approach towards it. The other one is biased assumptions. It is a universal tendency to expect the worst of the unknown. Everyone is usually afraid of the failure and what it holds for them. Yeah. Now, the conscious and unconscious assumptions have the propensity of restricted creative thinking skills. For this, one must weigh all the assumptions to make sure they are not cutting off any new ideas. Okay? So we can overcome these barriers. We have noted that the barriers to creative thinking can be overcome, and even innovation, by self-imposed barriers. Okay? These can be imposed on ourselves consciously or unconsciously. They are particularly difficult to recognize, but relatively easy to correct. There is also conformity. Okay? Many people feel they have to conform to the patterns established by colleagues or their social circles. We must overcome this. Try thinking will help to overcome this. Try thinking. Or not challenging the obvious. Analytical thinking. Evaluating too quickly. All these should be checked. Otherwise, we will not go far or at all. Okay? Yeah. All this. So again, if you can remember, we also looked at what is creative and innovative. We keep repeating this. And why is creativity is important for a leader? Why should a leader be creative? Yeah, if a leader is not creative, he will fail, he will not go far. Innovative leadership is a philosophy and a technique that combines different leadership styles to influence employees to produce creative ideas, products, or services. As an approach to organizational development, innovation leadership can support achievement of the mission or the vision of an organization or group. Yeah. So the most influential innovation leaders have a strong sense of how they are showing up as individuals from the inside out. They are aware of and intentional about the type of energy they bring in a given moment and how that energy affects the people and process around them. Creative leadership is the ability to create and realize innovative solutions, especially in the face of structurally complex or changing situations. Leaders have the dual roles when managing innovation. The other point is, what does an innovative leader look like? These leaders believed that the best and most innovative ideas bubbled up from underneath. So another question we want to ask is creativity a leadership skill? I should say yes, creativity is a critical leadership skill because if we don't harness new ideas, then we will stagnate. In order to achieve creative change, we have to disrupt the status quo. We have to do things differently and break free from business as usual. Now, another question. What are some creative leadership characteristics? Of course, they are there. High standards of personal ethics, big people without pettiness, guts under pressure, resilience in defeat, brilliant brains, not safe products, a capacity for handwork and midnight oil, a charisma, that is charm and persuasiveness. That is what a creative leader should be. Okay, he has the guts under pressure. Even under pressure, you can stand. It is a creative leader has resilience in defeat. You can still rebound back. Even people saying you are finished. But if you are a creative leader, you come back. You come creatively. They may say you are corrupt, you are bad, you are weak, you are old, you are tired. But if you are creative, there's nothing elephant. You can come back, rebound, and do more. Of course, I don't want to get into what are innovative ideas. I don't want to get there. Or how does creativity lead to success? That one I will not do so, because we can understand that part of being successful is trusting yourself and finding ways to achieve your goals. Okay? How can leaders encourage innovation? There are many ways. Wherever you are, think of a church leader, think of a headmaster, think of where you are. You can go far if you are creative. Yeah. So what skill do you need to be innovative? You need all these: creativity, critical thinking, complex problem solving. All the three of these skills are essential to developing and bringing to life a new innovation that solves a real problem and provides meaningful value. Yeah. Can I hear something?